This is a timeline. Specifically, this will be a timeline of the universe, highlighting the 4 most important moments in the history of the universe. So 13.7 billion years ago, that's the estimated time of the beginning of the universe. Our sun is born. Heavy elements around it clump into planets approximately 5 billion years ago. Simple life on Earth evolves approximately 3.8 billion years ago, and we're born. Again, please remember that this is to do with some estimations and theories. So we're talking about the theory here of the Big Bang Theory. This is a theory about, well, what the universe was like in the beginning and what is happening in the universe right now. In this section, there are 3 very, very important things that I want you to remember about the Big Bang. So let's start with today. So the universe today. If this is the universe today, do you think the universe yesterday was bigger or smaller than today? How about 10 years ago? Would it be bigger or smaller? As we can go further and further into the past, the universe was smaller and smaller and smaller. It gets progressively smaller as we move back through time. And we can see this, and it's kind of interesting because we can watch the history of the universe in rewind. And if you go back, this is theoretical now, if you can go back far enough, you could figure out where and why and how the universe began. That is called the Big Bang Theory. So the first point I want you to remember is that the universe is expanding and has always been expanding since it began. Please make sure you take this down. So everybody's heard of the Big Bang. Well, honestly, the Big Bang wasn't a bang. There was no explosion. It was an explosive expansion which was triggered by an unknown event. We know that the universe is expanding, and we'll cover that a little bit later in this course when we're talking about things like the Doppler effect. But that leads us to think that the universe was smaller before. If the universe is bigger now than it was, like say 10 million years ago, theoretically you can come to a time when the universe was very, very, very small, incredibly small. As hard as this is for us to wrap our brains around it, at one point, according to the Big Bang Theory, the universe was at one time small enough to fit inside a room. Can you imagine how dense that would be? What would the temperature be like in such a dense place? Imagine if we packed 3,000 students into this room. What would happen to the temperature? What would happen to how squished people are? So the next thing that I want you to remember about the universe is that in the beginning, the universe was very small, hot, and dense. There it is. That's the universe. Before I get into the third thing that I want you to remember and start talking about that slide, what do you think caused the Big Bang? Well, guess what? Nobody actually knows. It is a theory, and parts of the theory we've been able to prove is correct, and parts we still don't know if are correct or not. But even what caused it, nobody still knows. It is still uncertain what triggered the sudden expansion of the universe from the incredibly small and dense object that it was in the beginning. If you guys can find that out or figure it out, then please let me know. But let's just talk a little bit about what happens. Let's say, for example, you are in a room and there's something that's really, really, really hot inside the room. So lots of heat and energy. What happens to it? Does it just spread out? Well, generally, yes, the heat spreads from that center object, but it also cools down at the same time. Let's take the analogy of a very nice hot bathtub. You fill it up, it's nice and hot, well, but so hot you can't get into it yet. So you decide to go to bed and take your bath in the morning. Well, what's going to happen? In the morning, the bath will be cold. Now, of course, the universe is a lot more complicated than a bathtub sitting overnight, but the same basic idea applies. As the universe expands, it is also cooling down over time. Okay, so let's just refresh these 3 points. The first point is the universe is expanding. Second point, the universe started out small, hot, and dense. The universe is cooling down as it expands. Again, these are the 3 main points of the Big Bang Theory. How do we know this? Understanding the evidence is the tricky part. Let's go over a couple little misconceptions to the Big Bang Theory. True or false? The Big Bang Theory is a theory about how the Earth was created. False. We're talking about the entire universe here. The Earth has only been around for about 5 billion years or so. The universe is almost 3 times that old. True or false? The Big Bang Theory says the Earth is getting bigger. False. It says that the universe is getting bigger, that it's expanding. This does not mean that everything in the universe is getting bigger. Think of a balloon. If I blow up a balloon a little bit and then I put a peanut inside and then I keep on blowing it up bigger and bigger, causing the balloon to expand, what happens to the peanut? Nothing. We are like that peanut.